What is the prognosis for Zach Larrier and the injury that he left the game with on Saturday?
Yeah, he's likely out for a while. I don't know how long that's going to be.
And then with Jensen, the missed handoff and then the Wyoming player punching it out, what does it say about Jensen's stick-to-itiveness and moving on to the next play for him to be able to execute that pitch to John Lee Eldridge at the end of the game?
I don't think any of us are perfect in what we do. I make all kinds of mistakes, and those really, he'll get better. And I think more than anything else, I think no matter what somebody does, if you just hang in there with them, they've shown the capability and aptitude, and there's plenty there, that let's keep plugging away. I mean, you just aren't, whatever a guy's first two at-bats are doesn't mean you think that's the way he's going to hit for the rest of the season.
New week, Service Academy matchup, CIC trophy at stake. Just talk to me about a Service Academy matchup and just what it means playing in it.
You just, you think of the things that are involved, with, not just the march-ons, because frequently we're around march-on, right? You think, well, it's never a no big deal. It's always a big deal. We came in the other day from pregame, and you look all the way up that tunnel and you see all those cadets. It just moves you beyond football too. And again, just you have future service members that have made a commitment to do everything they can to make our country a better place. And I think it's awesome. And I keep thinking at some point I'd like to go watch one of these games, also to see the flybys, but hopefully that's a ways out.
Coach, obviously Brian Newberry's been a part of their program for a while now, but have you seen him have any tweaks in the program? Do you see this team a little bit more differently than it's been the past 15 years?
They always are, right? I mean, you'd look at us and look at us a year ago, and you'd definitely see some differences too. And I think anytime you involve a new coach also, that's going to be the case. So to answer your question, yes.
With Brian's defenses, what did they do well last week? They got a shutout against, I think, Charlotte.
They did, and they've been really, really good on defense. I think especially the last 2 weeks. Played some younger guys earlier in the year, and I think they're starting to see some of the fruits, those early season investments.
Back to the quarterback situation, the summer, the off season you had where you gave so many reps to multiple quarterbacks. Now that you're in a situation where you're probably going to play with another one of them, was that an advantage versus a normal season, like maybe last year where Hazik probably monopolized a lot of things?
Yeah, I think it can be. Does that show now, or does that take a good number of games? It's like anything. It's we're all a work in progress, and so I think we just got to be patient, and which we will. But we have done that. I do think those additional snaps were a bonus.
And you've been through this a lot, changing quarterbacks midseason because of injury. Have you usually noticed, when you come in as a replacement mid-game, it's a lot different than the next week when you had the week lead up and the first team reps and just the knowledge that it's going to be your assignment?
I think probably what's different, I don't know if the number of reps, because we give both our ones and twos a ton of work during the week. Now, naturally, as human beings, you say, no, I'm always dialed in. I do think your attention span's a little different. I mean, if you think, I might write a story this week that gets printed compared that it's going to get printed, I think I'm not saying for you do it the same no matter what as a professional, but I mean, that's a little bit human nature. I mean, if someone sends you out to the bullpen and says, you might get in there, compared to, all right, you're going to throw the eighth. I mean, I just think your focus is different.
Not to just keep talking about Jensen, but after the game you said his traits are kind of similar to Zach. Why is that, and kind of what does he bring to the table?
Good movement, I think he has very good lower body strength, just in terms of having some power as a runner. And being a senior, he maybe hasn't played a whole lot of snaps, but he has been in our program for a while.
With Chuck Peterson on staff, how do you utilize him this week? Obviously it's a different system, a little bit different personnel at the top, but a lot of the players are the same. Do you talk about that? Skill sets. How do you use him?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. If anybody has anything to glean, any time, that you can pull to help out that way, you will. He's been incredibly helpful all season long. Just his advance work. There are a couple of things here or there. He may say something about, all right, this guy is a runner. Here, a certain way, maybe you need to tackle a guy. I mean, there are some details that way, but he had a phenomenal experience there. I mean, clearly his son played there, and he's been just absolutely incredible for us, and we're beyond fortunate to have him.
And with John Lee Eldridge, I guess, what is the rationale behind the number of carries he's been getting, and is that something that are you saving him for something? You're hoping he's better in the second half, or what is the thinking?
Yeah, fair question. If you're knocking down shots, how do you not keep finding ways to get that guy open looks? He's just anything we've ever asked him to do, he's been outstanding. I think back even the week before, or the game before, when we played San Diego State and the block he had on the perimeter and how good that was on Kate Harris's touchdown. And however he can help us, he'll absolutely do it. We are not intentionally trying to save at-bats for him later. I mean, he's, part of it is, we have some other guys we think can be productive too. That's a part of it. I also think, I thought this really about the middle of last year, people were pretty aware of some of the explosiveness that he did have on the perimeter, that maybe if there was a 2-on-1 fast break, they leaned to the other guy, meaning him.
Without, the speed, if Zach Larry doesn't play, losing his speed on the edges, does that accentuate the need for some speed from the tailback or from the Z's as opposed to when he's in there?
I mean, it doesn't mean that's necessarily something that's possible, at least maybe in what you're trying to do. And you'll try like crazy to design things where that's the case. It's you can't just automatically say a guy's on first base and I want him to be a right-handed pitcher and the catcher to be a little slow. I mean, you want to. Sure, to answer your question, you'd love to. It just may not be where you can really create that, even as hard as you try to.
And Jaden Thurgood coming in, obviously he's had a very productive career, and he had a ton of offers coming out. And it looked like he had visited Cincinnati right before committing to you guys. Do you remember much about that process?
I do. Yeah, he did. I took an official visit. I remember going to his place late on a Sunday afternoon there in late January, and really just an amazing family. I do think they appreciate service, just good structure, the leadership of his dad. Just great, solid human beings. And we felt strongly that he fit here, even though there may not have been military in the background, just the makeup of the person. And the humility, how respectful he is. He came in direct, so he'd share this with you. There was some adjustment, for him. I think especially probably, those first 4 months or so. He's made it quite well, and he has an enormous amount of leadership aptitude beyond football, too.
What do you mean by the leadership of his dad?
His dad is a police officer, and just, like I said, just great, just decent people. And I just thought he'd mesh really, really well. and it's been our fortune to have him as a teammate.
Is that around Vander Linden?
What is right now? Right now it's 2023. So when he would have been, he would have been the tail end of it because it was January of 20. So it was Vandy and then Alex. Those two that were most involved. Alex Means.
From an individual standpoint, looking at Navy, who kind of jumps off the screen when you're watching?
Well, I think, the interior ball carriers absolutely do. I think anytime you have a guy that can be an interior runner, but the same guy can catch a pitch on the perimeter, that is impressive, and the number of long runs that one guy's had, whether he's going, through the inside, on the perimeter when they're playing Memphis, and he has a gigantic game. Or, like I said, just some of the, against North Texas where Pop's an inside run, that you take notice.
And then you did allow that there's a human element with Jensen Jones this week and, stepping into that different role. What about the factor of going to Annapolis and potentially his first start, playing in a Service Academy game at Navy? What have you seen in him that would lead you to believe that he's equipped to handle that kind of situation?
Well, first of all, you go back. We've played there for how many years? In the last 20 years, I think, what have we won? Twice? Be real here. It's a tough place to play. And even beyond that, you look at a good number. Our guys know any game we play, the reality is our guys know that. They know we could get thumped in any game that we play. Not just because we're playing there. It's just, that's just, golly, it's part of playing good competitive football and playing against a really capable team. And yet more than anything else, where your investment has to be is how you practice. And our guys will do everything they can. This group does a great job when it comes to preparation, and he will in his way too.
I just want to ask, first of all, you had no Service Academy military background before you got here, right?
My dad's in the Army.
Oh,
He's an E8 right now.
Yeah, what? Yeah, I'm sorry, he's an E8?
E8 in the Army, yes, sir.
What is that?
I think it's a some type of sergeant. I forgot.
Okay. He wasn't a West Point guy, was he?
No, sir. No, sir. He's enlisted.
In terms of the whole, landscape of the academies and the Commander-in-Chief's trophy and all that stuff, what was kind of when did you learn about that, and has it soaked in with you the way it seems to with so many people, the importance of it?
Just the importance of the matchup.
The winning against the academies, getting the trophy, all of that stuff.
For us, I feel like we look at every game as an importance to win, but specifically for these Service Academy ones, it's a different type of bond and brotherhood to go out there and obviously we respect the other academies, but to come together and come out victorious with those wins, it matters just a little bit more to us.
And I know you've been asked about this. I've asked you about this, but the number of carries, at what point do you just embrace that this is the role to be the home run hitter versus how much you still want to have that chance to be a 20, 30 carry guy?
Yeah, I'm sure any running back in the country would love to have, 20, 30 carries. But I take pride in just, giving my best in everything that I do out there. So whether it be 10, 5, 15, whatever it is that I get that night, I just know that I'm going to leave no regrets out there.
How you doing, John?
How you doing?
Good. I want to ask you about your TikTok videos.
Yeah.
What's behind all that?
Just this past off season, I try to make a lot of motivational videos, whether it be TikTok or Instagram. And then just some of the guys on the team, we always find funny videos or trends that are going on. So we just talk about different ideas, and I just try to go out there and do them.
Does it actually help you on the football field? We've seen some of your runs too.
Yeah,
there's a little gimmicky going on.
Yeah, I would say I guess the TikTok's based on my training videos. A lot of those have come into play on the field a lot last year, and then again this year, just helping me with my footwork, staying in bounds on some of those close tight runs. a lot of those videos that I do at home during the summer, they have come to help this year.
After the game, you talked about having confidence in Jensen's ability to run this offense. What can you tell us about him? What kind of traits does he have? What is he like as a quarterback?
Jensen, I mean, he's a good friend. We both went to the prep school back in 2019, so I have a long, 5-year friendship with him. In the off seasons, we spend countless hours in our hack doing different types of drills, whether it be footwork, running the ball, throwing the ball. So for him as a leader for this team, whether it be him or Zach, they're both very dedicated to what they do. I spent a lot of hours, again, like in the off season with Jensen, just working all of our different route concepts. So, whether it be running the ball, handing it off, or throwing it, I know that he's able to get the job done.
Is this a moment he's kind of been waiting for, that he's ready for, that he's ready to possibly seize the moment?
Yes, sir. I feel like coming into the season, it was a battle between, him, Zach Leary, and Ben Britton. And I feel like just in the earlier interview that I said, I feel like confident with whoever we put out there. I know all of them work hard and really dedicated to everything they do every day at practice. And I know that whoever we put out there come game time will be ready to get the job done.
John, did you play in Annapolis 2 years ago?
Yes, sir.
What makes it so tough?
I would just say just the stakes, having the CIC up for grabs. That's probably the main thing, just the stakes of that game holds. For us, it's just another game. You just got to come out victorious in every game that we play. But, their environment is a nice stadium. The fans are pretty loud, but, ultimately the win is the goal at the end of the day.
And I know you're aware of this. The seniors, if you do win the CIC, get to go to the White House. And it's not a political question, but have you thought about that at all, just getting that opportunity that most people don't get?
Yes, sir. Before we start the season, our goals are, just to be the best that we can be as a team. But, and that includes winning the CIC, going to the White House, being ranked, and being conference champions. So, we think about it, but we know every week is just want to know every week, and hopefully we'll get that shot here in the next few weeks.
After the first practice, you were interviewed by Falcon Vision, and you said 10 wins wasn't the goal. It wasn't enough for this year. Like, how cool is it to see this playing out? Obviously, you're not at 10 wins yet, but
Yeah.
to be 6-0, to be in this position, you mentioned being ranked and all that. Like, as a senior, just to see things going this way and not having a loss already that was you have to nitpick in your brain. Like, how cool is this?
I mean, it's amazing. Going into the off season, we knew that the biggest thing and our biggest obstacle this year would just be ourselves. It's always, Coach Calhoun always says it's not the next team that's the focus, it's ourselves. As long as we go out there and take care of the little details, then we know that we'll be able to be successful in our goals. And yeah, like you said, my statement in that first interview was just 10 wins. We got our sights set a little higher this year. And through paying attention to close details at practice every day, that's been helping us reach that goal.
And when you have these runs, there have been so many of them now, these highlight runs. What's going through your mind in terms of planning your moves? Is it just instinctual in the moment, or when you kind of hit the edge, are you like, I'm going to hurdle the first defender that comes in?
Yeah.
Like, how does that play out for you?
I kind of going in like Friday night when I'm talking to my friends. One of the main things I do is I watch all of my old highlights, whether it be high school or last season or just a lot of the training videos that I did. And during the off season, I try to embody myself doing if this happens, I'll do this. If this happens, I'll do that. So really, I feel like it's just instinctual. I haven't practiced it so many times in the off season.
You actually watch these videos? Like,
Yes,
how
sir.
do you what format do you have them in?
Just on my camera roll or on my Instagram, it'll be 30 minutes before the game, and I'll just, watch myself like, you know that you can do this. You practiced it many times before. You did it in the previous game. Like, just go out there and be you.
Are you updating this every week as you're getting all these new runs?
Yes, sir. I mean, my off time, my free time, if we have off days or just in my off periods, I try to go to the hack and I practice more just footwork drills. And then, I update my TikTok and Instagram with all of my highlights. So, yeah.
Okay. And then real quick, back to the quarterback position. If I had asked you in April, like, would you have assumed Jensen was going to be the quarterback, or how did you kind of see that?
I knew that it was going to be a battle just because, with Hazik leaving, I knew it was going to be a battle between, Ben, Jensen, Zach. I know that Zach's heavily involved with track, just as I am during the spring. So during the spring ball, it's primarily Jensen Jones being there. But I knew that it was going to come down to the wire, and I knew that at the end of fall camp we would have a sure starter, but I knew that no matter who we put out there, they would be ready.
Yeah. What kind of advantage is that now that, we've seen the depth be a factor at so many other positions, fullback, all over the place. Like to be in the position where you are as a team, where you're 6-0 and all the things we talked about, to have a quarterback you can turn to now who's a reliable number 2 option. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of advantage is that to a team?
I mean, outside of, the diesels, of course, I feel like that's where everything starts, is having a confident leader for our offense, someone that can go out there and, good or bad, be able to turn the page and lead us and know that, as long as we pay attention to the close details, we'll be able to come out successful with this win. So, I've seen a lot of that with Jensen hyping up the team and Zach making sure that everybody's focused, and Ben just being supportive every time that he's called upon. It's big. It's big for our team.
And what kind of measurables? You mentioned the track, like 40 time, 100. What kind of speed are you at?
I mean, for our spring, we do hand times for 40. This past spring at 2:08, I clocked at a 4:41. And then the previous spring, I was like 180-ish, 189. And I had a 4:38. So, I mean, sometime in that range. And then for track, my fastest so far was a 10:07. So those are my
Are you
measurables.
planning on, seeing if you can play at the next level after this season?
Yes, sir. That's a big goal of mine. After this season, I'll take the off season to really hone in on my body and my training, and hopefully I'll get that shot.
Colton, do you have any questions for John?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for the time. I really appreciate it. Colton Poole, Hero Sports. Just wanted to ask you about your offensive line real quick. Just generally speaking, what do you think of those guys up front, and just what do you think kind of sets them apart, maybe compared to other O-lines in the country?
I would say probably just the brotherhood. The nights before the game, we'll all meet up in a room and we'll have our talks about our goals for the season and our goals for the next game. And, they're always together, whether it be at school, at lunch, at practice, outside of, just when we're in the hotels. I think they just have a really unique brotherhood, and they really play for each other. So when we go out there, it's just like, it's not hard because we have that love and determination to play for each other as brothers.
And, especially in your offense, I imagine there has to be a level of chemistry there, right? With those guys knowing where they're going to be and when in specific moments. Just how much does that play into it, just having that instinct of knowing where those guys are going to be at any specific time?
I mean, as an offense, our guys, we practice those plays, hundreds of times. We go out there during pre-practice, during regular practice, and even post-practice with our walkthroughs, and just really try to hone in and go through the small things to make sure that when we get out there, it's instinctual, So I feel like that helps them to know exactly who they need to block, and then as running backs, we pay close attention to them and talk to them, whether it be outside of practice or at the games, just making an effort to point out the things that we're seeing in the games to help each other out all the way around.
And lastly, for me, just personality-wise, what are those guys like, off the field? Just how much do you kind of mesh with them just off the field, I guess?
I would say personality-wise, they're pretty easygoing, fun guys. Love the game of football. Love our time being here, to be blessed with this opportunity to be at the academy. They're just hard workers, everything that they do in terms of like taking care of their body, making sure that they have the fuel, making sure they're hydrated in classes all day, being here in altitude and just being locked in. And, I just feel like collectively our whole team is just a whole group of hardworking individuals.
Well, being Navy Week, I want to start with that. Like, what does it mean to you, the Surface Academy Rivals, CIC trophy, and when did it start to mean whatever it means to you now?
For me, I'd say probably after last year, winning it for those guys, you could just see how much that you could see them express how they felt, especially after and going into it. So, I'm just trying to approach it the same way. Guys like Chris Hara was a great example for that for me.
Does it still feel that way when you're also competing for a league title very seriously this year? Like, because obviously you've won the CIC trophy 21 times, whatever it is in the history. The league titles are a little more elusive. Is there some competition between goals at this point to where, maybe this is a little bit on the back burner because you're focused on that?
I would say no. We're just trying to attack it the same way. We shouldn't treat any other title this differently. I get CIC with the All Academy and Service. It's a bigger title for us, especially against Navy and Army, but I'd say for the most part, we'd really want to get both. That's our main focus.
How you doing, Jaden?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Did you think this defense would be as good as you are? Honestly, I mean, we saw in the Wyoming game, you guys don't just play, assignment sound. Like, there's a little nastiness to your defense as well.
Yeah, I think it's just every day we try to approach it differently. We haven't pulled it every week, but at least we know the mindset we have to come into it. So as soon as we hit earlier in the week, on Mondays, we just try to approach it the same way and just attack. That's all we can do.
All right. Obviously, you're well aware if you win the CIC, you get to go to the White House, and it's not a political question at all. But what are your thoughts on the possibility of that and getting to meet the president?
I would say it's a huge honor, great honor, especially for the guys that I saw meet the president last year. I definitely want to be there again.
Defensively, you guys only given up 6 points in the second half the last 3 weeks. What is it about your second half adjustments that you guys just play better?
I would say we really don't make any adjustments as soon as we know, like, we kind of get that first stop going into the second half and moving forward, that we're not just going to let a team come back. It's clearly in that YO game, first half wasn't as good as we wanted to, and then we made an adjustment where we wanted to just focus on who we are and just maintain and stay poised.
And what can you tell us about Jensen? What traits does he have as a quarterback? You playing on the other side of the ball, what have you seen from him during spring and maybe fall camp?
I'd say for Jensen, he has a pretty strong work ethic that I see him do outside in football and in class. So I think moving forward, he's going to, be able to help us with that.
People always talk about the adjustment of playing their normal schedule and then playing you guys. Well, even though you guys run a similar offense, you're still adjusting from more wide open offenses like Wyoming, Utah State, and now you're shifting to Service Academy football. Is that a difficult transition at all to prepare from one week to another going against such different kinds of offenses?
For us, I wouldn't say it's really different, especially in the spring. It's more of our focus as a defense to try to hone in on more option. But then as soon as we hit the season is where we get to more conventional teams like Wyoming and Utah State, other teams like that. But there's not really a huge shift for us at all.
And when the scouting report on this particular Navy team, what have your position group been told? What have you seen from them that could pose a challenge on Saturday?
I would say for the most part, they've really opened up their offense into a more gun RPO, gun option team. So we just have to keep in mind of who we're playing.
What's your major?
Management major.
Management. Okay. Have you gotten your job?
Contracting officer. So
Okay.
I'll be a contracting officer as soon as I graduate.
I know you had Ivy League schools and everything else too, right? Why? Would you have gone into business elsewhere? And I guess how'd you end up at Air Force?
That's a good question. I'd say for the most part, it was that aspect of there's more life beyond football. For the Service Academy, it kind of gave me that instant job, more of that good fallback that everyone kind of needs because, nowadays I know kids who just go to school and then they graduate, don't know what they want to do with their lives just yet. So I think that was a big thing for me. And then aspect of playing football with it too.
And Coach Calhoun mentioned your dad's a police officer.
Police officer, yes.
What town are you from? It's Illinois, right?
I'm in Illinois, yeah. He's Chicago Heights, so it's outside Chicago. He's more in the rougher part right now, but he's loving it every day. He always sends me photos and everything and videos of what he's doing. So.
Was he doing that when you were growing up?
Yeah.
What?
Different area, but same lifestyle.
What did you kind of absorb by watching him, do that job day in, day out?
For me, at least, I always saw him come back home really late, or like 7 a.m. because he's a night shift guy, and graveyard. So then I always just saw him coming back, but then he knew he would have to do it again, just keep going because he had to.
How much of that, when you started then planning your future, did you lean on that, and kind of want to emulate that in some way, and did that kind of push you toward a military, decision?
I wouldn't say it pushed me towards the military aspect because I think I would have done that regardless wherever I went, but it just made me have a certain mindset no matter where I went. So it's just the same mindset.
And I don't know about the timing on Rivals.com and stuff, but it looked like you had taken an official to Cincinnati shortly before you committed to Air Force, maybe within a few weeks or something. Was there anything about that? Because obviously Cincinnati's now in the Big 12. I don't think they knew that at that point, but was that something you strongly considered, or was this kind of always the place you knew you were going to go?
I think for me, at least, it was between those two, and I kind of just wanted something beyond just football because, like, I saw they were on the rise and everything, but here I thought I'd have a good, better start for myself.